is long-term fasting for everyone? Let's say someone like me who tends to lose, I'm in that minute category of people, and I've often been given a lot of grief for this, is then I lose weight a lot easier than I gain. I'm a small subsection of the world who's always told that, but that's an advantage to have. And I'm like,
Yeah.
look, do you realize how much I
Yeah.
have to do
To
to
keep
put
the
on any
muscle on.
form of muscle, because
Yeah.
it just goes away.
Yeah.
Like, standard joke from all friends is that Varun goes on a holiday and comes back losing weight, versus everybody else has put on weight. So yes, I'll get more hate because now I put this on record. Sound like me, and I've wanted to try out fasting for the longest time. The reason why I stay away from it beyond a certain point is that what if I lose everything that I've
Yeah.
managed to maintain and gain? Is that like, is that almost me thinking of it from a lens that is totally untrue, or is there some thought to what I'm saying?
How many hours you got? I could literally talk for hours. I know we were joking about length of time. Let me distill it down, right? The most recent Nature paper that has come out on this subject, which was a review done by Matt Kaebelin, incredible brain, works at the University of Washington in Seattle, thankfully on our board as well at Human Edge. He did a Nature review looking at just literally decades of research to identify and understand what is the best form of fasting for the body. And his analysis was very simple. Calorie restriction is the most beneficial thing that organisms at the societal level can do, right? Two very specific words, organisms at the societal level. Organisms, why? Because we've seen that over roughly 1 billion years of evolution, the same methodology of calorie restriction, whether it's a nematode worm, a C. elegans, a mouse, a Drosophila fly, a primate, or now dogs, which are the most recent animals that are being tested before humans, net calorie restriction has led to a health span improvement, i.e., they've lived longer number of years, right? Roughly speaking, that sweet spot seems to be anywhere between 15% to 30%. So a net calorie reduction of 15 to 30% is the most effective thing that we can do at a societal level. The problem with that is that we as a society, our diet, our consumption of fuel has become so poor that we need that in order to get the health span effect. If we were eating the truest forms that we should be, locally available, a combination of plant and some animal, roots, nuts, berries, fruits, vegetables, fibers, etc., we probably wouldn't need to have such a big net deficit. Why? Because again, anthropologically, we have always lived up until the last 70, 80 years in a state of the world where calories were not abundant. Now we can each consume as much calories whenever we want, for most of the world, however much we want to. So that's why we're saying now that for society being in a net calorie reduction, if you're unhealthy, if you've got prediabetes, dyslipidemias, etc., it'll benefit. So the question then is what to do with people like yourself who are healthy from a metabolic perspective. I'm making some assumptions here. From a metabolic and a cardiovascular health perspective, healthy from a body fat percentage, and just healthy from a habits and behaviors perspective, right? That's the question that people then ask me. So then we need to look at the role of fasting, right? So what is the role of fasting? So if the net benefit or goal is to be calorie restricted, fasting is just a mechanism. There are many mechanisms. You could eat the same number of meals, but just have fewer amount of calories. You could extend the eating windows and be on one meal a day. As a technique, you could do what Walter Longo talks about, which is a fasting mimicking diet, which is you're still eating the same amount of food, but you're just doing it in different ratios, so your calories change through the day. So intermittent fasting is then just a technique. So we need to then see, if it is a technique, what is it about the technique which could potentially have another gain? And the gain comes in a technique or a physiological mechanism called autophagy. Autophagy is where your body is given a period of abstinence such that your cells go into a hormetic stress, i.e. they are stressed. They suddenly say, oh, hey, hang on, there's something weird going on. There's no calories coming in. I need to now bunker down and prepare for what could be hibernation winter, because that's what our ancestors used to have in other organisms. And in that process, what it begins to do is it identifies the junk which exists in our cells. It breaks it down and it recycles it and keeps it aside or repairs stuff that should be repaired, right? So that's the benefit. And autophagy means auto, self, phagy, cleaning or eating. So autophagy is a period of time where your body is in this rest state of calorie deficit, that it's starting to repair itself and heal itself from the inside out. So it's very difficult to look at a timeline, but one generally sees 3 specific windows. In the first 14 to 16 hours of a fast, what is most likely happening is your metabolic health is starting to realign itself away from carbohydrates towards learning how to use fat as its primary fuel source, the beta oxidation of fat. And it's where we first begin to see ketones in our bloodstream. Ketones are the purest, cleanest fuel. It is amazing for the heart. It is incredible for the brain. And that's why people who fast often talk about entering this zone where suddenly they're switched on and they can artistically, creatively, imaginatively think and do deep work. That's where ketones are in the bloodstream. So this is happening somewhere between 14, 16, 18 hours. The more metabolically flexible you are, i.e. the better you've trained your body to break fat versus carbohydrate, the earlier that benefit will occur. The next zone happens somewhere around 24 to 36 hours of pure fast, only water. And in this phase of time, something seems to be happening around this autophagy, where your cell signaling recognizes that, okay, there's no calories now coming in at all. I need to start replenishing, cleaning, healing from the inside out. And that's why when you look at some of the more advanced form of fastings across cultures, religions, and spiritual practices, we see these extended periods of time which are periodic in nature, right? Once a year, twice a year, etc., etc. So there's a net goal, therefore, of spending some time of a fast more than 24 hours, somewhere between 24 to 36 hours. And then there is this thought, well, if I take it longer, 48 to 72 hours, what could potentially be happening? And some science suggests that there is a degree of regeneration happening within the stem cells that exist in different parts of the body. Again, it's not proven, it's very theoretical, but there is clearly some type of little advantage. So now when I look at fasting, right, how my wife Raina and I look at our fasting schedule at home, we don't spend as much time in the 12 to 14 hours anymore, because we did that through COVID. I was able to achieve a reduction in weight, a redistribution towards muscle, getting rid of visceral fat around the liver, etc., which is so dangerous. And I moved from a pre-diabetic state to be metabolically more flexible and optimal, right? So we don't have to do as many of the 12 to 14-hour fasts every day. What we do, however, is that once every 6 months, we'll do a 3-day water-only fast, right? And I was just sharing, it's coming up to that period now where we're going to be doing it. So we just wind down slowly. And in that period of time, that's when you get the longevity benefit. So when someone asks me this question, it's not a simple yes or no, you should, and these many hours. It's important to understand the individual's objective, where they are from a health status, where they want to go from a health objective perspective, and then design a plan for them around that. And commonly people say that they give up fasting because they either get a lot of acidity, and that can very well be managed through simple over-the-counter medications like a proton pump inhibitor or an antacid. Other people feel a lot of fatigue, and that's just a natural consequence of your body retraining itself away from carbohydrates. And you can get over that by having water and staying hydrated through the day. And some people suffer from these terrible migraines. Again, it's the same as giving up smoking or alcohol. It's a withdrawal symptom. And there you can manage that with a little bit of caffeine, because black coffee or black tea is completely okay to take, even in a fasting state. The last thing I'll say about fasting is people who want to introduce fasting, don't give up breakfast, give up dinner. Your body's clock is best optimized for your fasting window to be that last meal in the day. And again, there's a lot of wisdom, and my wife comes from a Jain family, about how they say you eat when the sun rises and you stop eating when the sun sets. Precisely the same when it comes to fasting. Unfortunately, in society, we've taken the converse, and we'll have a late dinner, a heavy dinner, a terrible dinner, go to bed thinking, okay, that's my meal, and then we'll wake up in a stress state, cortisol is high, caffeine being pumped down the system, and then thinking, I'm going to skip breakfast, actually you're doing more inflammation to your body than you are doing good. So if you are going to try fasting, extend your eating window at the night and have a nice healthy breakfast in the morning.
Like you said, how many hours do you have? And I think we can go longer into that. But what I want to do is I want to try out fasting.
Okay.
Before I get you back on the podcast.
Yep.
So whether the next time we do this, and I'm already pretty sure there's going to be a next time in my head for me to kind of pull you back, make the long trek to the studio to do this.
Sure. I need a biohack for that.
Biohack for that to get through Bombay traffic.
Yeah.
Want more such insights? Make sure you check out the full episode.